Holford.
Here.
Member Howard.
Here.
Dennis and Joe Mercado are absent.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
For all.
Okay. We have a citizen here, so do you have anything you want to tell us?
I have no public.
All right, and moving on, we'll have the approval of the
I move approval of the minutes.
second.
Second.
Jerry and Ed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Okay, presentation of the draft financials for the annual report.
So the financials are in your packet, not the large one, I'm just working off of the June, July stapled portion of your packet. Sorry.
Okay.
That was just your gift for this evening.
Oh, okay.
So working off the memo dated the 19th of August, and we just look first at cash and investments, and as we've mentioned in the past, that the city uses a position or takes a position of safety and liquidity when we're looking at investments with cash. Returns are secondary in our decision making. And in the governmental funds, at the end of July, there were $56.9 million, and this was a decrease of $7 million, and this was a decrease of $729,000 from May. June. Let's see, I talked a little bit about the short-term investments. We have a relationship with American Deposit Management, or ADM. We refer to them. We are making a deposit with them. At the end of June, we moved $1.4 million into a 12-month CD, and we're reaching the range on the interest rates of that were 2.7 to 3.05. So substantial improvement over what we were seeing. The ones that had matured were at 0.45 and 4.9. So substantial improvement. So that's good news. We're trying to take advantage where we can on those. The rates now even are moving up, and most are over 3%. What we're doing with that, I just did also mention on the graph, you can see the tax fund increased substantially. That is due to the receipt of the annual school tax levy and first dollar credit that we get at the end of July. Moving on to landfill siting resources. I just mentioned that most of those resource funds, and that's about 80% that we move or transition or use to fund projects in the various capital funds, and the remainder is left in the general fund. This landfill siting is always about a month behind because in July we would just receive payments. Through June, this revenue stream is performing approximately 9.1% better than the $2.3 million budget 2022. And then I mentioned that in previous years, so assuming we would continue on trend to be over the $2.3 million, previous years, those excess receipts have been credited to equipment replacement street. And we would likely make that recommendation that we're situation. Then in the general fund, the revenues and investment income did make a bit of a recovery through July. As I mentioned, we are seeing slightly improved rates, so that was good. We were over budget about $131,000. Year-to-date expenditures are at $15.3 million, and that is about $899,000. And although the fire department vacancies that were vacant earlier in the year are now filled, the police department still has 4 officer positions open and 1 dispatch position open, so that is one of the reasons for the encourage. Public position open, so that is one of the reasons for the encourage. Public safety is currently running about $369,000 budget. If you look at the total, there's currently a $6.6 million surplus, which is about $893,000 favorable to budget. This is correct itself over the course of the year. American Rescue Plan, we did receive our second payment, or I know they call it staunch, I think. Tranche. I'm like, whatever that is, yes. We received that second portion at the end of June, and and the work on the first project that's going to be funded by these resources has just started, or is just starting to progress. It is the fiber optic network, or WAN as they refer to it, and the spending in that is reflected in the capital. Solid Waste Fund revenues through July are $1.9 million, and they're running right at budget year to date. And there was a rate issue with John's Disposal that has been corrected, and so all the expenses have been processed. And through July, the costs are running slightly ahead. In the Utility Development Fund, not a lot of activity in there, but there was $22,000 in special assessments for water that were collected. That's $12,000 more than. There is $477,000 of revenue year to date. That is running behind budget by approximately $590,000. The Capital Outlay Fund revenues have been as expected. Again, the landfill siting looks like it's running behind budget, but that's because it's always about a month behind. This is the budget. And I mentioned a few of the things that have been purchased. There hasn't been a lot of new items that have, most of those were there in May as well when I reported. The equipment replacement, the revenues are as expected as well so far in 2022. And the only new item there was the engineering department had ordered their F-150 truck for approximately $47,000, and that is reflected in encumbrances. In the Capital Improvement Fund, I mentioned the WAN previously. So through July, there were expenditures and encumbrances of about $181,000 related to that project. And then the other large ticket item there was the Pleasant View Park improvement. Again, expenditures and encumbrances about $406,000. Street Improvement Fund, not a lot of change from May. There's $900,000 that has been committed, but not a lot of spending to date, and that's about $61,000 actual years. In our TIF districts, District 3 and District 4 both received their state exempt computer aid funds, which is regularly received at this time each year. District 3 received $476,000, and District 4 was about. The District 3, as we've mentioned numerous times, is terminating, and that audit will begin soon. So we'll be working on that to wrap that up. District 5, very little activity in that TIF district. TIF district number 6, there was a little bit this go around. There was minimum assessment guarantee shortfalls were invoiced to both Copart and Strauss. Copart has paid theirs. In addition, work has begun on the Ryan Road water main extension project. And there are expenditures and encumbrances of about $700,000. July. District number 7.
Go ahead, can I ask a question? I'd like to talk about the minimum assessment guarantee shortfall for Strauss. What is the next step in terms of they've been notified that money's due? How long do they have to?
Jesse has just literally, I just saw a copy of it. He has drafted a letter requesting or prompting them for payment and saying we would pursue next steps. I think he mentioned there was some interest. Okay, and I'm not familiar with the agreement, so I don't know if they don't pay and they accrue interest, what are next steps?
So they'll keep accruing interest, and if they don't pay, it'll become a lien on the property. So in November, get ready to do taxes, whatever is the bill and whatever's outstanding. October 15th, the amount outstanding on October 15th is noticed. They get a final 30 days to pay the tax roll.
Okay. I was so, and then in District Number 7, as part of the sale and regular agreement with Velo Village, there was an MRO payment made, $9,000 in June. And then in District Number 8, they've certainly been ramping up the activity, the planning and construction activity. There was $4.8 million recorded, mostly in encumbrances, but in expenditures and encumbrances, and then an additional $760 in project management inspection services. In addition, we have paid a development incentive of $750,000 to one. Paid a development incentive of $750,000 to one, or as part of the One Guard.
What's the $4 million in miscellaneous village?
Oh, there was the back in when we closed the property, there was a $4 million payment as sent to the city. But
Was the contingent savings payment that was part of the development? So when they sold it, they made a lot of money off of it, like tens of dollars. In the city, the council did an amendment to the agreement so that a different formula could be used. The formula that was supposed to be used. The formula that was supposed to be used was just simply a non-starter. The sale would have never happened. The council accepted a $4 million payment.
Just a word of, $4 million in under miscellaneous. Off the question. If it's something that big, you might as well just call it what it is.
We talked to the auditors about that, and that was where it was allocated to begin with, which is why they left it there. But like I said, a one-time payment.
Then moving on to the self-insurance fund, there was $1.8 million worth of claim expenditures. That is just about $81,000 under budget and just about $18,000 in 2021. At this point through the year, the fund has generated a $29,000 deficit compared to about $2,000 deficit last year. Retiree health fund benefit payments of $298,000 are 25% greater in 2021 through July. Is
Quite a whack there on investment income.
Yes, we have. Now we did see a nice improvement. It was, I know we went back up over 8 million, so we're certainly starting to see it come back. But yes, in May, June, and July.
Except for today, it was
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I didn't need to know that.
Can we go back to page 3? So, year-to-date, 899 underspent, and I see 369. Where is the rest of that typically coming from, and is that expected to carry through, or do we have things coming up that's going to eliminate the difference?
And you're talking about the general fund.
Correct.
And so if we look at the actual general fund financial statement, so like I said, the public safety was the biggest piece of it. There is some additional underspending in general government, and there was holds on positions. For instance, my position was open for a while. There's an accountant position open. So, we will hopefully get that hired, but we certainly won't spend all of that. Then there's the I don't remember what the $107,000 was when we at that. And the city assessor office, the budget was higher than the city assessment current contract, so there is a savings there of about $7,000 as well. So I guess I wouldn't be comfortable in saying that we won't spend it all, but I do see some of that not spent.
Anything else? Okay, I guess we need to have a motion to approve and send it. Moved and seconded to send the report to council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I guess we got some journal entries then.
Yes, as part of the review of the annual financial statements, when we were here, we met last. There was a request to just present the adjusting your journal entries or audit journal entries. And so I just made a copy of those and put them out. So most of these journal entries are standard audits. The first one, journal entry number 1, it's item 5. It's just a 2-page staple. It will be past that if you flip further through your packet.
This thing.
Looks like.
It's not in the state. Still in the state.
Update. Okay, so the packet not here. Everybody else did? Something for you to look at. Oh, thanks.
Here, what,
Here, start. Sorry about that.
No problem.
It's really exciting reading. I
Yeah.
don't want to be cheated out of that.
Oh, big numbers then.
But so the first entry was a year-end entry to the pension plan fund, and basically it was the auditors came in, the fund had been updated with activity through the end of March and it had not been updated through December. So this was simply the activity from. Next item is, it says adjusting journal entry number 3 because journal entry number 2 is actually later on. It's called a reclassifying entry, so it does jump numbers, but it's by design. And so this was the interest for Velo Village, and basically on February 2nd, 2022, Velo Village made their payment of the construction savings, a prepayment. And because it was received within 90 days of the end of the year, we have to recognize that in 2021 as a receivable. That's what that journal entry is. The next one is the WRS pension. It's a normal audit. Is the WRS pension. It's a normal audit entry where it's passing the pension balances or allocating them from general fund to the utility funds. And that's related to WRS. And there are 2 additional that are related to the OPEB, and then the next one is DPW pension, the defined benefit plan. So basically similar entry, just to the different plans. Second page, with the one at the top is just a rounding entry that the auditors do.
We're gonna have to look.
I know, $5.
I think we could all chip in.
Exactly. And then journal entry number 8, this is when we sold the bonds at the end of 2021, there was a journal entry that needed to be made for the amortization of the next one is, so the DOT. So TID 3, we've talked about it a couple of times, but we had a large accounts payable out there that we're waiting to see if the DOT was going to request payment for that.
Yep.
They finished their audit. There is not expected to be a payment. We are still going to finish our audit. By the end of October, so we will confirm all this. But at the time that it was determined, then the auditors removed this from the payables.
Apparently Tony Evers doesn't have a very good accounting.
Well, and
That's
they
a lot
also
to be off.
they also said you won't hear from us if there's no change. So
So, yeah, and their feedback to us was they never told us that that was due. In fact, they sent us a payment last year for $33,000. So that was a record on our books. That was an entry on our books, not the DOT's.
Oh, I
So
know.
they never showed that as owing.
Right.
So we don't know that their accounting system is bad or ours is. Our accounting system is bad or ours is, right? We don't know who put that on as a payable.
We want to report a payable and have a bill for it.
Well, but DOT doesn't bill till after the projects are done. So just, like I said, I mean, give credit where credit is due, but I don't think this is the state's issue.
And then the last adjusting journal is related to, the ARPA funds. And so that $1.8 million, we had received guidance from the federal government that if you had not spent it, you would reflect it as deferred revenue instead of as needed in cash. Audit for. So that will not happen in 2022 because we will have spent these funds, so we will have to go through this.
That's good.
Yeah, and then the last one is a reclassifying journal entry, and this was something, I don't know, Peggy, is this new methodology, or is this just the
Correct.
new methodology, or is this just the
Correct.
new way for us?
This is a new GASB.
It is a new GASB. Okay, so when we receive all those tax funds at the end of December, we usually put that in a separate fund, and the auditors moved the amount that was due to the city of Franklin. We would receive, basically they're saying that is available to you and you reflect that. So that is what this is, taking our portion that's in that agency fund, reflecting it.
All right.
That was it.
All right. And we have,
And I don't know, do we need any, I don't think we're planning to vote.
the,
Next is the Ellers agreement. Let's see, you should, yeah.
five, but there was nothing on the agenda. Okay.
It's six. Maybe the six. Renewal of agreement with Ellers and Associates.
What about,
That's the last time.
okay, thank you. All right. Yep, renewal agreement with Ehlers, yep.
So each year we go through the process of, I guess by default, renewing with Ellers. We go through a disclosure process for us for all of our debt. And they report disclosure process for us for all of our debt. And they report on anything 5 years, anything debt that we have issued. They have to report to called Emma, but it's basically an agency that tracks all municipal bonds and debt. We use Ellers to do that. They do since this agreement started at $3,800. So we will be recommending to renew, but then given the small dollar value of the contract, we will not be bringing it forward in the future unless we chose to change somebody. When I looked at last year's, it was in the minutes, it was presented to council, so we didn't want to not do it again this year, but going forward we won't.
Doesn't hurt.
Right. So the agreement is here. If anybody has any questions, but basically they, like I had to just recently, they give you a big disclosure statement. You have to determine whether there's been any unusual events, any needs to be reporting. We just finished that, submitted it to them, and then they processed
This
this.
is gonna be at the same price as last year?
Yes. Yep. $3,800.
Okay.
It's actually a perpetual agreement, so it really only, if we want to make a change, does it renew? Otherwise, Ellers doesn't require. When we signed it in 2019, we signed for future years as well.
Okay. We don't need a recommendation to approve this. All right.
So,
You got updates for us?
so we do not need to send this, I don't need to do anything to send it forward to council.
Yeah.
Got it. So then I was just, I know some of you had them in your boxes, some of you received them in the mail, but the draft, the comprehensive annual financial report was accepted and placed on file
Okay.
through council, and you should now have your hard copies for 2021. Then Peggy also provided a tax increment district report to the council when I was out on vacation. So that has been done. It was accepted and filed. And then the previous financial report was also accepted and on file.
Are you gonna hang on to these and bring them to the meetings? That's what we're. Okay. Just better than this long.
All right, and then topics for next meeting. So we are still working through the post-employment investment performance as well as selecting a new investment manager. We are working on that diligently. Peggy's done a tremendous amount of work to get things transferred over to her name and all of that good stuff as administrator. So we will bring those forward. I did just want to bring up the dates again. Since we have lots of meetings coming up, I wanted to remind everyone that we selected option B during a previous October 3rd, October 5th, October 6th, October 11th are all future finance meetings related to the budget. And, we'd also have our normally scheduled meeting on the 27th of September. So even if there's something on the agenda, if we were to get through the OPEB investment, presentation or have something to bring to you, but maybe we leave it open given all of the times we're going to see each other in early October.
We have to review the monthly financial statement. At least.
We can do that.
And go ahead. I was going to ask, can you please confirm again the times that we're meeting on each?
I have 4 p.m., but let me just, I'm going to double check the minutes. Is that what the minutes say too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then we will plan on
they're all
September
4.
27th.
Okay. Well, if there's no further business, then entertain a motion to adjourn.
Question for Peggy real quick. Do you have a timetable at all on, excuse me, okay, allergies are bugging me. When do you think you'll be ready to make a selection on the investment manager?
Depends on what we have time up here. We had to get all the documentation. Depends on what we have time up here. We had to get all the documentation over finally today. That's what the documents are right here. We got the documentation. We needed medallion signatures from old people, and it just was kind of a mess. So budget timing may not be more of a mess. So budget timing may not be more. Certainly get this.
Just like in my head.
And it won't leave off the agenda.
And as we start going towards the the budget things, you're plenty busy. I don't know if you have.
I did put 2 emails out last week for the examples. I was just my task was to get you 2 examples of some job descriptions. Last week.
Just, as we're getting into the budget, just
Yep.
to take a look at it. Thank you.
And then Peggy, probably more for my knowledge than anything. So we sent the budget to council on the 20th. And then do they get the budget previous to the meetings?
Council will refer to committee then probably the night of the 20th. Assuming it all goes out that night, right? Once it'll go to council. Council gets it, do a little presentation to council, and then it gets referred. That's So I would say they'd get it later in the week of the 20th, I would expect.
I wasn't sure if they had it to look at beforehand or how that all worked out.
Okay. And the first night is usually an overview. So we'll want budget, show you here with the format and the process, and then so we split the department heads between 2 meetings, the second and third meeting, and on the 4th meeting, back and just wrap up, and we'll of course keep track of it. And so we have a public hearing right after the 11th. I think the last meeting was the 11th. It would go to council on the 13th. The hearing notice is today.
So department heads are working on their part of it now.
Have it enter. Still making changes. Wait, I have one more thing. That kind of. So, yep, diligently, frantic.
If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.